This is 8.5 day 2, and we're going to talk about kites today. So we did trapezoids in the previous lesson, and this is our last quadrilateral for this unit. It's the last one that is also not a parallelogram. So we spent a few days learning all about the parallelograms, rhombus, kite, and rhombus, rectangle, square, and parallelogram, and all of those properties. And now we're doing our two kind of one-off shapes. We're doing a kite and we're doing a trapezoid. So a kite actually, by definition, has two pairs of consecutive congruent sides. So when you think about flying a kite when you were a kid, and you'd have your kite, and then this is the tail that you would be holding on to, it has two pairs of consecutive, so in a row next two sides, that are congruent. We would call this like the bottom of the kite and then the top of the kite. So the top's two sides are the same and the bottom two sides are the same. It also has one pair of opposite congruent angles. And again, when you think of flying your kite, it's the left and the right that are the same, and then the top and the bottom angles would be different. So you get one pair that are the same and one pair that are not. A kite has diagonals that are perpendicular, which means you are going to get to use SOHCAHTOA if you need to. Oops, almost spelled that wrong. And you can use Pythagorean's theorem. Both of those will come in handy. So first we're going to find the measure of angle R in the kite. So I see a pair of angles and they are not the same measure. So that means that the other two have to be the same. So I'm going to put X's there because they have to be the same measure. So X and 88 and 70 equal 360. So to solve that, I'm going to do 360. I'm going to subtract the 88, and I'm going to subtract 70. I'm left with 2x's equals 202. And then I would just divide by 2. So it looks like each one of those angles is 101. Next one says find the perimeter of the kite. So perimeter is if I were to walk around the outside, or if I was putting fence around this, how far would that be? So we need to be able to find the length of this and this side. So I'm just going to put an X there and a Y there. This would also be an X, so as soon as I find it, I can just double it. And this is also going to be Y. So as soon as we find it, we can just times it by 2. What's nice in kites is that there's a 90 right there. So this is its own mini triangle, a 3, a 7, and then a hypotenuse. So we're going to have 3 squared plus 7 squared equals x squared. And then we also have this triangle where the Y is. So we have a 3, a 10, and a Y. So doing 7 squared plus 3 squared gives me about the square root of 58, which is about 7.62. Then this one down here, we've got 3 squared plus 10 squared, so I've got 109. And then, square root that, which is about 10.44. Okay, and then they wanted us to find the perimeter. So this side is 10.44, this side is 10.44, this is 7.62, this is 7.62. So I just need this side times 2, and I need 2 times the 7.62 side. So it looks like my perimeter is about 36.12. At the end of your notes, you just have a little, like a web map that we're going to put all 7 shapes in here and how they're connected. So the grandfather of the whole thing is a quadrilateral. Its only distinguishing feature is that it has 4 sides. So all of these shapes have 4 sides. That's a pretty basic definition. And then we dropped down to our parallelograms because they touched the most parallelograms. They touched the most other shapes. So all of these shapes are connected. We did rhombus, we did rectangle, and we did square. To remind you, parallelograms, what makes a parallelogram a parallelogram is having opposite sides parallel. What makes a rhombus is it has 4 congruent sides. Rectangles have 4 right angles. And squares have 4 right angles and 4 congruent sides. Now, once you know your parallelogram, you have lots of other properties. Once you know your rectangle, you have lots of other properties like diagonals are congruent, rhombuses have diagonals perpendicular. There's lots of other stuff that happens that you could list here, but this is what makes a rhombus a rhombus. This is the qualifying feature you need to have. Then we did trapezoids and kites. Trapezoids have 1 pair parallel sides. Oops, that's not how you spell kites. Kites have 2 pairs consecutive in a row next to congruent sides. And that's how all of your shapes are connected. This wouldn't be a bad thing for you to study or to, right next to kites, list all the extra properties that they have. Each one of these has a lot more things that happen because they became that shape, but these are the bare minimums. These are like the qualifying features.